What is up, everyone? I think I am live. I've got Steve here with me, who is a regular with the likes of Raul and some streams I've done in the past. I'll just wait for some comments to come through that confirm we are live. I can see Bob's last message, but I just need a few others to let me know we are live before we can jump into things. Yeah, I feel really bad. I kept them all waiting. So hopefully it's working. Let me just jump over to YouTube then. Oh, I think they can see us now.
Hold on, let me turn you up a little bit.
Yeah, I might be a bit quiet, sorry.
No, I got you. I was down low. My battery was almost dead. My volume was all messed up.
Well, how's it going, everyone? So I'm not sure if everyone caught the intro, but like I said, I've got Steve here, who is a regular on Raul's channel. I basically talk to him every day. He's a really cool collector that doesn't really do too much on social media, but I'm always keen to get his thoughts on this. I think the main topic for today will be to talk through the whole Cardporn situation and just get everyone's thoughts, because there's a few things there that I think are pretty interesting as well. Apologies for the delay. It's Father's Day here in Australia, and I was just at brunch with my daughter, and things got a bit delayed, but everything should be good to go now. So I think at a high level, maybe Steve, just give a quick introduction, and then we can jump into things.
Oh, well, I'm blessed to be here. I'm friends with Dan. People may know me from Raul AIH's channel. I guest with him quite often and grown to know these guys pretty well and get along and think pretty much like-minded. And happy to be here. Hello, chat.
Good to have you here.
Splendid Sports Cards on Instagram. I forgot. Yeah, Splendid Sports Cards on Instagram.
I was going to say, he's also a big KD pumper, so if you've ever overpaid for a KD, it's because of him.
May have been known to pump a KD or two. I might flash some bids here later in the stream if it comes up.
Yes, I think Raul will join shortly as well. He's got some family stuff on today, so hopefully he can make it. If not, all good. But I'm fairly certain everyone by now has basically seen the Cardporn situation. It seems on social media that everybody has basically given their opinion on this. A few people caught by surprise, and there's a few things I wanted to talk to that is pretty interesting, just based on some of the commentary that people are sharing on the situation. I'm keen to get your thoughts on this as well, Steve, where people have had suspicions about Cardporn for quite some time in the sense of basically how they've acted recently. And when I say recently, I mean maybe the last 12 to 18 months where, during the boom, they were seen as this, pillar of support for the hobby, this watchdog, and then all of a sudden, content started to shift into a new direction, right? And that's when the likes of myself, AIH Sports, a few others started to do some videos on this page, because we noticed some trends that, weren't overly appealing. And then essentially a lot of people that were prominent within this hobby didn't really jump onto this sort of thing. They sort of turned a blind eye to a lot of the concerns that people had. And then we basically fast forward to the last 24 to 48 hours where the article from Darren Ravel basically indicates a pretty serious situation. Now, I'm 99.9% certain everyone has seen this. But basically, since my video came out this morning, it looks like Cardporn have taken down their YouTube page and their Instagram page, and there's a whole lot of thoughts I want to talk to on this one, because it is pretty crazy. So at a high level, Steve, is there anything that caught you off guard with this, or anything you found super interesting before we jump into the detail?
Well, I would say I'm caught off guard, but I had my suspicions, like being close with you and Raul. Like we've all discussed how like the sentiment of Cardporn had changed after a certain time frame. Now I have my theories, my conspiracy theories as to who or what or how maybe I don't know bought him off. But yeah, I definitely think there was a narrative change from that account, who all was affiliated with it. So from there, I wasn't too like shocked that something was up, because I think a lot of us were picking up on, you know, Cardboard kind of went soft, and they had a narrative, like they might go after somebody and lay off some others.
Yeah.
But this situation shocked me. Like I didn't realize. I guess I'm not surprised, but I didn't realize like the fraudulent accusations. I don't know what could we say. They're accusations at this
Yeah.
point. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going to come from it, but like it doesn't look good. It's pretty damning. For Rovell to come out and talk about now, I missed the tweet because I'm banned off Twitter, so I had to get it secondhand via Instagram. But I'm
Yeah.
taking it back, but I'm not shocked if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I was in the same position, to be honest. And I've had a lot of back and forth with Cardporn. They've recently started to communicate with me a lot more. They've recently started following me. So I sort of use that to my advantage a little bit in terms of being able to ask some questions. I did ask them a question about this and got no response, and obviously their account has since been deleted. I think the thing that's most telling in this instance is the wording and the language being used by Darren in his article. So for those that aren't aware, which you all should be by now, basically there was this charity that was set up in the name of a deceased photographer, a very famous sports photographer. He may have done other forms of photography outside of sports as well, but they set this up in his name, and they were essentially selling off game used jerseys, game like match worn jerseys that were authenticated and proven to be from certain matches, in the name of this person's charity, who had no affiliation with that charity whatsoever. And turns out a lot of these things don't appear to be from the games they said they were. And then basically where things got pretty strange for Cardporn is that the most recent Michael Jordan jersey that they were trying to sell off was photo matched based off of the photo that was provided by Cardporn, is what's being alleged here, and that photo is maybe questionable, in the best way to put it. And like I said, the wording being used by the likes of Darren, etc., is pretty blunt. They're not coming out and saying, Cardporn's a scammer out and out, but the wording they're using implies there's a lot more information that they do already know that they haven't yet shared, which should concern a lot of people. But the thing on this that I found really interesting is the information that has sort of come since. And it's a question for a little bit later on, Steve, but one thing I found at a high level now very concerning is the amount of people that are saying, yeah, we had the same sort of questions. Yeah, we've raised similar things. Oh, yes, we have other stories. But it's like, why the fuck didn't you share this stuff, 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, when everybody else was asking questions about this page? Why wait until something like this happens to now say, yeah, me too kind of thing? I think it's pretty crazy, and that should concern people as well.
Well, I think we both know like sponsorship and maybe certain status within the hobby will prevent people from openly talking about stuff that that you and Raul will cover primarily. This cardboard life. There's a few other accounts that really go in on stuff like this, and credit goes to a lot of people. I can't
Yeah.
I can't name everybody, but there is a group of people that have been calling this stuff out, and they're not afraid to. Um, yeah, I think it's easy. How do I want to say this? There's been a sentiment change in the hobby now. Now that the market's come down and a lot of things that people like you guys have been talking about are coming true, I think
Mm.
it's now more popular to discuss some of these things. So I do think you're going to have people coming out of the woodwork saying like, "Oh yeah, I had my suspicions. I had my suspicions." But it would have been, it probably would have, it would probably have more merit if you were to speak out sooner when
Yeah.
everybody pretty much noticed this change with the cardboard account, and when guys like you and Raul, especially off the top of my head, were calling it out and talking about it openly when nobody really wanted to talk about it or hear about it or just write it off as, oh, that doesn't matter, it's conspiracy. It should just it should open up a lot of eyes in this space where it doesn't matter how many followers somebody has. It doesn't matter what type of titleship, what type of esteem they have in the hobby. That everybody's human and fraud happens. And like we're in that camp where we talk about it openly. But like
Yeah.
I hope people who have joined this hobby since like 2020, even though nobody likes to admit they joined in 2020, like you got to start looking at things like this. Like fraud is a real thing, and it goes high up the chain. And just because you call it out doesn't make you quote unquote negative.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
I don't know,
Definitely.
just shooting from the hip. Those are some of my thoughts, and I do agree. Like you're going to have people now that it's more popular and less taboo to talk about these things. But if you look at the macro of the hobby, like this fraud stuff's not. I mean, you can go back to the dude who was trimming cards.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly. Gary
everything's like
Mathis.
now
Yeah.
open to talk about when it really
Yeah.
wasn't this way a year ago, 9 months ago. I mean, I don't know, 8 months ago. It's
Hmm.
yeah, and you know, hopefully people are opening their eyes and they're not afraid. It's like, dude, just because somebody's follower account is ginormous, doesn't mean they piss gold. Like,
Yep, exactly. And I've just brought up this comment here. I'll just wait for Raul to join because it looks like he's in the background, but I think he's having an issue. So maybe just message me, Raul, when you're ready for me to add you. But this comment here from Michael Ham, who does great content, by the way, he put together one of my favorite set of national videos because he actually showed dealer tables and things like that. So if you haven't been to the national yourself, like me, check out his channel because he did a fantastic job covering what the tables actually look like, which was, few and far between from content creators this year, it seemed. Not many people were doing that. But he mentioned something here that I want to talk to, where he basically talks to the fact that Cardporn was at this break that Drake did with Ken Golden, where they busted open some 86 Flea, hit some Michael Jordan rookies. And there's a thing here that came to my attention today that I think is very concerning. And I haven't been able to corroborate this myself, but I'm hoping the likes of Darren Ravel can. So somebody told me, who I trust, a whole bunch. I can't probably trust this person more than what they've basically disclosed to me in the past. They've never lied to me or anything like that. But they mentioned to me that Juan, who is the person that, Darren Ravel and others have named as being, associated with the Cardporn account, previously worked for Beckett in some capacity. And I'm not sure what capacity that actually was, whether it was just for advertising and things like that. But the reason why I think this is very interesting is because you've had an issue here with Juan apparently trying to get a photo used by this auction house authenticated by PSA, and PSA basically rejected it. And some of the wording used in this article implies that this person was pushing very hard to get these photos autographed. Now, if we quickly jump to, the blow-up thread, if you give me a sec to figure out how to do this, because I'm a bit of a weirdo. There's a blow-up thread from a few years ago. I want to say, I think it was 2021, where this person basically talks to purchasing a card from someone referred to as Juan Garcia, Juan Gar, who is based in a certain location. Now, this is all public information. You can see it for yourself. But they sold him... or this person, Juan, sold this person a star Michael Jordan with an autograph on there, and it was authenticated by Beckett Card Review. Now, I think that's very curious. If you've got truth to the fact that they've previously worked for Beckett, you've now got evidence of them potentially giving a fake photo to PSA to get this fake game-worn Michael Jordan jersey, authenticated. Not to mention, if you go over here to the Golden page where they had the Cardporn auction, almost every single one of these items were authenticated by Beckett in some capacity. So my thinking on this is, if you've got a person here doing some hanky-panky, right, and that's basically what's coming out in these articles, and they have in fact worked for Beckett, we haven't confirmed that yet, but if they have worked for Beckett and they've got all these things here authenticated by Beckett, and they've had a known fake card get authenticated by Beckett through a raw card review via this Michael Jordan star autograph, and now you've got this story about this PSA photo, is that a trend there that maybe this person has been doing something for a lot longer than just this one photograph, right? That's where, my line of thinking goes, and it's something that I'm trying to corroborate now with Golden. So I have not got a response yet. It's something I'm going to look into over the coming days, and I know I'm talking a lot of words right now, but that seems very concerning for me. The situation where you've got somebody potentially being associated with a grading company, using that relationship to get things authenticated that have been offloaded, i.e. that Michael Jordan star rookie that has since been determined to be fake. You've had the same person try and offload, at least we think it's the same person, this photograph to PSA for this fake Michael Jordan game used jersey. That didn't go through, but it was a known fake. Does this now raise questions over all these items that were listed on Golden? I think it does in some capacity, and something we need to look into further. And I think something that we can also hopefully get a response from on Darren Ravel, because I think he's got a lot more push and power than I do with this sort of stuff. Now, I just added Raul to the chat. Sorry if you weren't ready, Raul.
Yeah, hey, could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry if there's an echo. Do you hear an echo or anything on your end?
No, you sound good.
Okay, great. So yeah, I missed the first 10-15 minutes of your conversation. So I know you're talking about Cardporn, but where were you at?
So I just gave a bit of a background on the situation, and then just quickly mention that I've got some more information that's come my way from someone that I trust very much. I can't fault this person at all. They've never lied to me or anything like that.
Yeah.
Basically told me that Cardporn has had a working relationship with with Beckett at some point in the past. And given that, the thing you posted today about the blow-up thread with the fake star rookie, and then also these things that were listed on the Golden website through Cardporn, that big sale that they did, most of those being authenticated by Beckett, I think it also potentially raises some questions around the authenticity of those.
Right. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, this must have been, I think, before Christmas, where everybody was pumping the Golden auction, and it was Cardporn's auction, right? And I'm not going to list the people who were pumping that auction, but I don't know if you guys remember that there was Cherry Collectibles, there was Shine, and there was Ken Golden, all sitting there. And I don't think they posted not Golden. They didn't post Cardporn from my memory. It's all like taken off because the account's deactivated. They didn't have, once again, Cardporn tagged. I'm thinking to myself, why didn't they have Cardporn tagged? And I verified that it was Cardporn himself, because there was a Cherry Collectibles video that you sent me where Cardporn was in it. You know, you said, "Oh, thank you, Juan." And I just find it interesting, like, why, if that's true with that relationship with Golden, why wasn't that disclosed? I mean, I figured it out. You figured it out. Multiple people did as well.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting situation because, like I said, you've got this situation with Darren now bringing this stuff forward that implies that this person, Juan, if we think it's the same person, has done this, trying to deceive PSA potentially, or is maybe in cahoots with this, charity to try and deceive people out of a lot of freaking money, right? You're talking well over millions of dollars. To now have, those cards or those items also sent to Golden as part of the Cardporn special. And they maybe have a relationship with Beckett, as disclosed to me by this source. You've got this star rookie here. It just looks very suspect. And the fact that you're now hearing whispers and rumblings everywhere indicates that there's a lot more to come than what we're, seeing right now, which is crazy. And speaking of that video, Raul, I was going to talk to that actually. So Cherry Collectibles is a store here in Australia. They're based in Melbourne. I'm based in Sydney. They had a few years ago, I want to say, I think it was 2020 or 2021. It's still on their YouTube page now because I watched it again this morning. They had somebody come in. I think they opened 3 packs of 86 Flea. And the person who brought the packs in was this person, Juan. And if you're, pretty switched on and you watch a Cardporn video, like the walkarounds they did out at the National, and then you watch this video, you're going to know it's the same voice, right? It's a very distinct voice. It's also the same voice you hear in the Drake break, right? So this person brought these 86 Flea packs in. They opened them on this Cherry video, and they're all happy. They don't think there's any concern there, but people in the comments actually came out and said, we know what these packs were searched. They were tampered with. So I don't know if that adds to the mystery that we're seeing right here, right now, but I think it's just a lot of things, falling together. A lot of pieces are starting to come into place, and I really want to get an answer. Hopefully Darren can help out on this because I can't get in touch with him, but hopefully he can figure out whether or not Cardporn or this person, Juan, had a working relationship with BGS in the past, because if they did, this raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge conflict of interest where you have collectors potentially, and then Beckett. I mean, you work in the auditing world. This is flat out crazy if that's the case. I mean, he interviewed Dr. Beckett. I love Dr. Beckett. I got his autograph through the mail. But, I'm fine with people getting sponsored. It's like, just own it, say that, hey, I'm sponsored by XYZ. And also, if you're on Instagram in the United States, there are rules and regulations that you need to disclose this, and I always suspected that this Cardporn account, how did it get verified in January of 2021, when no one could get verified unless you were a famous person? Who in this hobby could get verified? My thought process is a Ken Golden, a Jeff Wilson, a Nat Turner. Exactly. There must be a few others. So that's just a huge red flag. And it's just unfortunate that it's come down to this, where, you were speaking out, I was speaking out. There's few other people as well speaking out. Like, I was mocked. People talked all this crap about me and said I was way too aggressive. I wish other people just said the same things as me and you.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to figure out how to put people's names below their things. I'm just playing with things. Sorry, guys. I'm a bit of an idiot with the live streams. Not done too many. But that's a really good point. And like I said, it raises a heck of a lot of questions. Because my perspective is, let's say they did have a working relation. Like, this is going to be proper tinfoil stuff, right? But if I was an auditor, or I am an auditor, but if I was looking at this from that lens, it's what I'd do, right? So you've got an alleged working relationship between Beckett and this individual. This individual has leveraged that relationship to get things pushed through the authentication process, right? Let's say this Jordan Star rookie autograph that's on Blowout was the use case for that, right? It's a known fake now. They use their relationship to get that thing authenticated via raw card review to then offload to someone else. Who's to say they didn't try and do the same thing with, all that stuff that was sold on Golden's platform, right? Those are the questions you'd be asking. And it goes actually full circle to this Spiegel lawsuit, right? Because if you guys remember, there's the LeBron James rookie card, the exquisite card that they basically helped get taken down from Golden's platform, they being Cardporn, is also in a Beckett slab. I just feel like there's all these things now starting to, interlink, that if they are in fact in a working relationship with Beckett, that is crazy to me. And I think that's a fair question to ask. And I would really like Darren to sort of dig into that a bit further, to be honest. Any thoughts you want to add to that?
Do you ask Steve or me?
Go ahead, Raul. Go ahead.
No, you could go ahead, Steve. I've been talking a lot since I got on.
No, I want to hear more. You go ahead first. I'm being a sponge right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Darren Ravel gets a lot of messages and lots of tips. So if we've been able to figure all this stuff out a while back without receipts, I'm pretty sure he's had some inside information. And I know he's going to go on a live with, I think he's going to go on a live with P. Ryan soon, and he may spill some more details. He has to cover other issues besides Cardporn, but I am very curious if he has anything to add to this. And I know P. Ryan is buddies with him, so if P. Ryan's watching, hopefully, we can get some more details out of Ravel from this.
Yeah, because I think it's one of those things that needs to be answered now, because I think I did a tweet earlier today, and I think I mentioned to both of you guys actually when this news first broke, that only the Twitter account initially got disabled. So I was like, okay, what the heck is going on? That doesn't make sense. Surely if you're going to run and hide, you'd delete all the accounts. And then subsequently the other ones came down a bit, like 24 hours later, or whatever it was. But there's so many things on this that I find incredibly laughable, right? There was a video that Cardporn put out with a guy, I think was based in Ireland, that was busting some UFC cards, and he got caught out to be a scammer because there was a card missing in the pack. He took the pack off camera, and this person basically got grilled for it. He used to get death threats and all this sort of stuff, including his wife, right? So I put out a video, shitting on this guy as well, and then he reached out to me a few months later and said, well, hang on a minute, I was a bit disappointed you did that, but here's all the information I have on hand to show that maybe I didn't do it, right? And this person also shared the fact that there was other packs of this UFC, I think it was Prism, that also had missing cards in there, right? It wasn't just him. And he gave a bit more substance to the fact that he might be innocent. And I actually put out a second video on this, basically apologizing to the guy and said, on face value, we need to cut him some slack, right? Yes, he made a mistake by taking the thing off camera, but he deserves some slack. What I found very interesting was the same information was presented to Cardporn, and he basically got no response and got blocked off the back of it. So again, if this person is in fact scamming and calling out people that are scammers, basically doing what he's not, or, practicing what he preaches, I guess you'd say, that's pretty poor form. To do that to someone and then, act in this way and knowing you're doing the same sort of shit in the background is terrible form, in my opinion.
I mean, I know we have a lot of questions and everything, but I mean, behavior should, I'm not going to say it's, judge, jury, and executioner, but like everything's come down. Now, I'm not on Twitter, but I'm seeing pictures that his Twitter's taken down, Cardporn I'm speaking about, the Instagram's down. Like, if this wasn't true and he wasn't involved in some of this fraud or these questions that we're asking, like if there's nothing to hide, why would you disappear?
Yeah, that part is very strange, right? That's not how you act. He's done the opposite of people going on defensive as they normally would, right? People would just basically double down and say, I didn't do nothing, and then try and backtrack. But the fact is ghosted completely. One thing that I think may have also happened, if these are completely unrelated, right, and this is just a coincidence, which I don't really buy into, the Spiegel lawsuit that I mentioned earlier has basically now named Juan Garcia as the potential person who owns the account, which might be the reason maybe they've decided to go ahead and delete all their profiles. Maybe that's got something to do with it. But again, there's all these things going off at the same sort of time. And like I said, it's good to see that people are coming forward now with similar stories, but why did they not do it months ago? That's the part that sort of pisses me off, to be honest, because you could have protected a lot more people if in fact this is as systematic as what people are sort of implying right now.
I think Raul brought up a good point with the auction and a lot of the people that were involved in that. Like, how deep does this go? Who knows what? Like that's what makes me. That's what gets my brain ticking. Is like, I don't know. You guys are far more knowledgeable about this than me, but all I can think of is more questions. Like,
Yeah.
you brought up the Beckett relationship. I'm thinking about the golden auction that he was like, and the people that were working. Like, I don't. Were those auctions legit? Like, I don't know. It brings a lot of things into question. Anything that's kind of involved with him now or that account,
Well,
however, whoever many it may be. I mean, you're talking about a lot of fraud and a lot of money.
Yeah, it's tainted everything. And I've talked this before on my channel. So being an auditor, right, we treat fraud as fraud, right? Fraud is fraud. So it doesn't matter whether it's $1 or $1 million. The second you find fraud within a process or with any, system, you have to treat it all the same, right? Because it's basically fraud. So, you sort of feel sorry for maybe the people that might be interconnected with this now that have done nothing wrong. One thing that's really disappointing for the sports card industry is how much it still relies on personal relationships with people, especially people that run auction houses. You see it all the time where they're friends with people, they put their cards on there, and then months later it sort of comes out to sort of be fake, and there's all this bullshit that happens, right? So maybe some of that is still happening here, but again, it's mental. I don't understand it, to be honest. I think it's, pretty crazy to play that kind of long game where you're basically the reverse Batman, right? You're sitting there fighting crime while also robbing the banks yourself. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You were going to say something before, Raul?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say is that okay? This Juan Garcia guy, he started these art companies as well, or these art Instagram channels. I think it's something Art Fido or something like that. Someone sent me that, and he was apparently a watchdog for the art industry, from my understanding as well. So yeah, I'm just thinking like, how much fraud has this guy done? Just my thought process. May have been minimal in the art industry, but go ahead.
Tinfoil hat on for me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Dan. I didn't mean to cut.
No, you go.
But like the fact that we're talking about fraud in the card hobby space, and I've brought it up on Raul's channel before. Like it's similar to an art market. In art, there's so much fraud that goes on in the art market, and it's just like, I don't know the numbers. I don't know if it's just but like I've researched. It's like up to 70% of the art dealing that goes on. It like 70% of it's just fake. It's fraud, and a lot of it has to do with money laundering. And if that's the case, like, is that crazy to think like, well, he's in the sports card hobby, starting art accounts, like the money laundering and the fraud is prevalent in both.
Yeah, and the thing is that okay, allegedly, if this story is right by Ravel, I think it is. So he tried to pump up this jersey, right? And then, if he has these relations with Golden and Beckett, like that's a huge, huge problem. Like, are we trying to artificially pump up the prices in these auction houses? And then how many of these items in these auction houses are not legit? I mean, I have to, I do some stories on some of the items at these auction houses that no one else will cover. You will cover them, obviously. Sports Card Radio will cover them at different auction houses as well, but not many people will touch these stories because they're all interconnected. So I'm just thinking, okay, how much of this is overvalued stuff and how much is fake?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that's really disappointing with this situation is that it's another Aussie doing basically something, and this is me personally, another Aussie basically doing some shady shit. And to give you some context, like if we were to look at luxury watches, right, I make reference to that all the time, but there was a really known famous scammer here in Australia, based in, I think it was WA, Western Australia, that Patches, who I'll bring on screen now, might remember this story. But this guy essentially did the same sort of thing, right, as what we're seeing here. He had a very large Facebook group, one of the largest in Australia, if not the largest. It had over 100,000 members, if I remember correctly, from all around the world. Also had a YouTube channel that was very well liked. And essentially what he did in that instance was he leveraged his YouTube channel, he leveraged his Facebook group to garner trust with people, and then he would sell watches to individuals. But what he would do is he'd sell them replica watches and sort of rely on his name to get by, right? And that was a big scandal. It basically took if you think, the card community is big in terms of social media and all that sort of stuff, this was 10 times bigger. It was basically everywhere. You had people with millions of subscribers basically talk to this sort of thing. Essentially doing the same thing, right? Using your notoriety, I guess is the word, and your fame on social media to scam people essentially. And it almost looks like that's what's happening here, right? Where you've got someone trying to backdoor maybe certain photographs, certain cards, certain, items, and leverage their name, saying, hang on a minute, I'm Cardporn. You guys can't talk shit about me because I'm the guy that's doing the nice thing. You guys don't know what you're talking about. It's the same sort of thing, which is from an Aussie's perspective, pretty disappointing because we're now got two of them. But that's where my mind goes once again. You're basically leveraging your relationships to take advantage of people is what it looks like.
Man, I hate to I gotta say it. My tinfoil hat's going crazy. But if you're doing this type of fraud, what would be the best thing if you could sell out to the higher ups of the industry or network with them? I don't know how you would classify it, but you can pretty much be a watchdog psyop and get away with all this stuff that we're talking about. And who knows who's involved? Who knows who's paid who knows who's in cahoots and networking with who? I mean, we can kind of see some networking already with previous behaviors or streams or breaks or whatever. But if you think about it, if there's a network of this going on at the top, who else would you pay off? What account would you go after that would take your side? And that's why we were talking in the beginning. Raul, you may have not heard, but we were talking in the very beginning about the narrative change with Cardporn. Who are they going to go after versus who are they not going to go after? And again, you brought up a good point. How did that account get verified? And it has to be networked with somebody famous. I mean, you named some names. But
was it Ken Golden? That's what I'm thinking in my head. Not making any accusation, just my thought process. Who in this hobby could be verified? Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson's not tied to it. Nat Turner, right? Those are the three that have the publicity, or unless there's someone tied to Nat Turner or something like that. That's who I can think of. But
I don't even think they have to. I don't even think it has to be someone like that that's in cahoots. I think it could simply be you being that hobby watchdog, having that big following where everybody basically knows you. You've now got a business relationship with collectors, and you leverage that relationship to get your verified process done faster, right? It doesn't necessarily have to mean that somebody's also in on it, but again, that could be a very real possibility. I just think it's interesting where you've basically maybe got someone, backdooring stuff off the back of this name. And it goes back to what I said earlier. The Good Old Boy Network is all helping each other out in some capacity. We've seen that, since the hobby's inception, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just thinking, Steve said something about tinfoil hat, I don't want to get too deep in it. Steve and I always have these tinfoil hat discussions. Asking a question, is Cardporn a plant? There's some other people with questionable backgrounds in this hobby. I'm not going to talk too much deeply because it's your platform, Dan. There are some shady people out there in this hobby with criminal records, really shady criminal stuff. How do they get to the top? How are they interacting with the good old boys? Just asking questions.
Yeah, no, you can talk to that stuff if you want. I'll bring up this question now because I wanted to reply to it a bit earlier, where Tom Bullard basically says cards seem to be a good place to launder drug money, to buy cards, open a shop, get your drug money on the books and make cash like that. I think that's been happening for a long time. I think there's actually some, articles of people who have basically gone on the record and said there's a Mexican drug cartel that is essentially, doing that with fake slabs and things like that, which is pretty wild, but it would be, I always say this, naive to think it's not happening, right?
Yeah, I mean,
money laundering is literally happening in every industry. Something like this, is so transactional is crazy to think it won't happen.
Exactly. I think you could substitute the word money laundering for private equity, as some people would say, but I'm not going to name that individual.
Yeah. You were going to add something before, Steve, I think?
Just kind of to piggyback, it's getting my mind rolling thinking about some of the stuff Raul was talking about. Was even some of the people that are held in such high esteem. It's not just that there's a lot of people that have a shady background. I agree, but it's high people in this hobby that are on a totem pole have a shady background, and some seem to be affiliated with this account.
Yeah. And one
And
thing I
that's
also
what
want to
makes, and
remind,
it's like, again, like I do believe in redemption, if ever, I believe in second chances, but like if you've been involved in big hobby issues or lawsuits before and you're tied to this account now, it's like, man, you're just supposed to keep your mouth shut, not ask questions, and be like, whoa.
exactly.
And then you're
Well,
tied to auction houses, and then it's just you're doing auctions for this account, and like you said,
mm,
even if it was a real thing, like Raul was talking about, even if the product's real, let's say the autograph or the jersey is legit in this, or whatever the memorabilia may be in this case, are the auction bidders legit? Like
yeah.
just because the product's legit, it just raises a ton of questions for me.
Mm,
Kind of
yeah.
disheartening to think about.
There's one comment here from Michael Hem where basically says Ken is not that smart. I think that's something that people need to keep front of mind too. Just because someone is very influential or they have a lot of money and they might run a business very well, people are generally pretty freaking dumb, right? And like for the same reason you can get fooled by a friend that takes advantage of you is the same reason why the same thing could happen to them, right? It doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account or how suave or smart you might be from a business perspective, you can still get your pants pulled down basically. There's another comment here where I think Michael also raised, who was Juan Garcia Ravel, said that who was tied to Cardporn from the post. That's basically what he's come out and said. I think that name was also mentioned in the Spiegel lawsuit that Paul Lesko gave an update on Twitter. So if you haven't seen that, please check it out. But one thing that's worth keeping front of mind is that's the name that's been associated with that account in the rumor mill for quite some time. But I really shouldn't say rumor mill because, like I said earlier, you've got Cardporn making videos and they're talking, and then you've got Cherry Collectibles recording a video with someone named Juan and they've got the same voice, right? So it's not really a big secret, which is why in every single video I made on the whole Spiegel lawsuit was that I found it very strange that it took them, how many months it's been now, 8-9 months plus to figure out who it was, because people did know, in fact, who that account was, or allegedly, I should say.
I mean, like, look at food porn, who runs it. I mean, you could do a credit check. People send me credit checks of food porn of, I think, Gloss, the company that Juan Garcia runs. There's, I don't know if it's Street Art Global or whatever. There's another company as well. Like, you could find out this guy, Juan Garcia. You knew the name. I knew the name. Many other people knew the name. We really didn't talk about it this much publicly for obvious reasons, but I don't know how they couldn't get the name, in a court setting.
Yeah,
It was just bizarre.
An interesting piece on that. So a source came to me quite some time ago where Cardporn basically went after them in a video and they thought it was unjust. They wanted to go after them for copyright infringement and then also defamatory claims. They tried doing this through YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and I think one other platform that I can't remember right now. All of those platforms were apparently registered under a fake name, except for YouTube. So they got this person's name through YouTube, gave them a call, and they basically got blocked immediately. So that then raises further questions because, like you said, Raul, you need to have proof of identity to get a verification on Instagram. So the fact that this was also registered under a fake name raises a heck of a lot of questions. But this person, again, showed me documentation that proved to me what they were saying. I just can't disclose further than that. But I think that's, again, very interesting that you've now got this information coming out and this person's apparently registering not just anonymously with what you can see, but even in the back end, when they registered the account, it's also anonymized, which is very strange.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. So there's this account on Instagram, Kids with Care or something like that, and it's managed by Cardporn. Who hired this guy, if that's the case? Or if he's just really wanting to have kids in the hobby, posting pictures of kids. I think that's weird as hell. I just did an IG post on that. Like, that seems really sus, and it seems very awkward. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's that stuff is like ridiculous, right? The fact that card shows are not doing more to protect kids in those instances, I think, is a joke. And the fact that you've got an account that's tied to an account with the word porn in it, that's producing content for kids, is like that's fucking insane to me. And it's like crazy how that sort of gets ignored. And you want to go tinfoil stuff, all the stuff that you're hearing about that happens in the world with shit like that, and you allow that stuff to continue is just freaking crazy to me. So yeah. Maybe we can go through a few comments now, unless there's something you wanted to add quickly, Steve.
No, you guys have covered it.
I'm also on mute like an idiot. Can you see any comments you want me to bring up, Steve, or anything in particular?
I've been listening to you guys primarily. I'm looking over every once in a while at the chat, and
Well, there's one here from Tom Bullard again, where it basically says just like COAs, like can't be printed, like basically they can be faked. What's really interesting here is once you realize how heavily relied upon game used jerseys are to match photographs, right, and how easily these photographs can be faked is concerning, especially for people that maybe have extensive parts of their collection in that space. I'd like to see P. Ryan talk about that a little bit, Raul, because I know he's got quite an extensive collection of match-worn stuff, and be curious to get his insights on how that actually works from his perspective and how common it is to actually see things like this, where you basically get something authenticated as being authentic by some no-name charity.
I mean, usually, but again, I guess you could get something signed on the fly, like if you're attending a game or something like that. But usually, there's those stickers. Usually, if something gets authenticated, you get those stickers, on memorabilia.
Yeah.
So,
but I think what's sort of happening here is it looks like maybe the good old boy relationship is getting that check bypass and getting the sticker straight away. It goes to like what we said about Nat Turner, right? 12 months ago, where he was basically getting cards that looked like they were maybe getting too high of a grade. And the question was, is that a conflict of interest? Can he grade cards with his own business? Because if people find out that it's his card, maybe an employee is going to be too scared to sort of mark it down. So they're going to give him a higher grade, right? That might not be happening, but those are the risks you look for in a business, right? It's not so much the fact that it is or isn't happening, it's the chance that it could happen, right? And that's why you ask the question.
It opens up that question, and it opens up that conspiracy, if you will. And like Raul and I talked about it like forever ago. Like there's so many conflicts of interest, and like we're looking at one right now with Cardporn. I guarantee you, there's a lot of people sweating right now. That account went ghost. But like Raul and I were talking forever ago about all the conflicts of interest. Like people that are taking sponsorships, like they might not do anything wrong, but it's like now your hands are tied to talk about things. And if something does come up with the higher ups and you're linked to them now, I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a big rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's just flat out crazy that, all these guys tied to Cardporn on Instagram, no one really talked about it. I'll give props to Lamim James. He's buddies with some of the people, in the higher ups, no disrespect. I like his work, but he gave props to Darren Revelf today. So I give him credit, because he's tied into these people, he hangs out with them. So props to him.
Hopefully we start seeing more of that, to be honest. But again, I'm not saying Lamim's case, but there'll be people out there that are sort of just going to come out and say something in order to save face, i.e. someone like the great curator who did a live earlier today talking about this thing, which him of all people to be talking about this topic is fucking insane
negative?
to me.
Isn't that negative?
Exactly. But that's what I mean.
Yeah, like what?
To sort of twist the narrative on it. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's up with curator? He said, like, Cardporn exposed. How many times has he not spoken out on things? And now it's popular. He sees us talking about it, and he's like, "Oh, let's get on the bandwagon." He got promoted by Cardporn so many times. It's the influencer marketers or marketing dudes that got promoted, like him and a few others.
Yeah, which I think one good thing that I spoke to when I was with Sports Car Nonsense the other day is that I think people are a lot more switched on to this kind of behavior now, right? They're seeing people for what they are for the most part. Just very quickly, you got Jay over here basically saying that double coverage and the card Messiah are in fact card porn, which is obviously a joke, but that's a pretty funny one. You know the Messiah quite well, Raul. There's another comment here from Michael Ham where he basically talks to a lot of locally sports player jerseys are purchased through the players' agents. Again, I think we've had a lot of hanky-panky happen through that process as well. And one other thing to keep front of mind, when you have your sticker autos authenticated by Panini or Topps, it's typically the player agent that's, the one overseeing that signing session. So again, lots of questions that are happening there as well as to the authenticity of those, as we've seen in recent days. You got Jason over here basically saying, yes, it's an independence conflict where basically the chance of something happening is the perception that there's a risk that right? There's a perception that you as an individual could be compromised in some capacity. And that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter whether it's actually happening or not. You can't let shit like that slide. So, yeah. See if there's any other comments. Was there anything else you guys wanted to add?
Yeah,
while I
it's
forget this?
sorry to interrupt, but I got to get going. I thank you for bringing me on. Sorry I couldn't, come on the camera, but just picking up my in-laws. So talk
Oh,
to you
good.
later.
Have
All
fun.
right, man.
Be
Cheers.
See you, man.
safe. Good
Yeah,
seeing you.
yeah, nice talking to you both. All right, bye.
Yeah, so it's just really interesting. I find it pretty crazy. I'm curious to see what's going to come out of the next few days. But again, I'm very annoyed because if you check out Twitter, there is heaps of people that have big followings now saying, "Yeah, I've got similar stories. I've got similar stories." It's like, well, why the fuck didn't you talk about this months ago? I know I'm repeating myself now, but it's
And like you
just
said, it's
crazy.
almost like a saving face now. It's just less credible. It's like, do you mean it? Do you know stuff that you don't want to talk about for a reason? It just adds a rabbit hole of questions.
Yeah, I think the one ask that I'd give to everyone is if you've had communication with Cardporn, please go back and check your DMs to see if there's anything in there that was suspicious. Because, I've heard people saying they've tried to go back through DMs and they've seen their DMs disappear. So, I think there's potentially going to be a lot more that comes to light. We've got Bob Boozle over here asking where Cardporn is. It'd be nice to know. We've got Jay over here, sorry.
I don't think transparency is going to be on that end right now. So nobody's going to know where he's at.
Yeah, he's basically dipped. He's probably in the same place as Jimmy Hoffa, who I
Yeah.
think is still alive.
I mean,
That's for another day.
Might as well be. We're never going to know. That's the thing. It's like that's what makes me question, like, what's going to come of this?
Yeah.
What I mean,
it's something will, because I'd imagine there's probably mail fraud in this at some point. If it goes as deep as what people are implying, it's going to have the FBI involved. And people also often say, well, what's the big deal? Well, look at this charity, right? If this charity issue, you're talking millions of dollars.
Yeah,
basically being funneled through this thing.
Right.
That's not chump
Something
change.
will come of this. Yeah, something's going to come down. It's just, man, it's going to be a house of cards, I think. Especially if there's multiple people linked to that account. It was bought out. The other auction house is linked to it. I don't know. I think a lot of influencers who, like when Raul brought up about that auction, Cardporn's auction through Golden, like maybe a lot of the people pumping his auction are going to be questioned about things. I mean, who knows? This opens up everybody.
Well, to be fair, if I'll quickly answer Jay's comment, but he basically says it's a bunch of Aussies steering the ship. I wouldn't be too proud of that, Jay, because freaking Cardporn is apparently an Aussie, or still is, or was. So I don't think that's something to be too proud of. But if I was somebody that bought one of these items from the Golden auction and I saw that it was, in fact, a BGS authenticated, item, and now we've seen this star card issue, now we've seen some of these other things pop up, I'd be asking some serious questions, right? Especially for some of those that sold for a lot of money. So I think the biggest items were the Beatles memorabilia that sold for like almost $60,000 before buyer's premium. So you're not talking about small amounts of money. And yes, people that can afford to buy those things typically have deep pockets, but that's not the point, right? Nobody likes to have, money stolen from them. So got a comment there for you, Steve, from Mr. Neo.
Buggy ride wasn't the same without you. Man, I miss our buggy rides in Indiana, Rob or Neo. It's good to hear you're up there. I hope you're having fun and successful, safe travels, brother. The buggy ride. It's pretty much like Indiana Amish country, bro. So me and Neo go up there and we take buggy rides together.
I'm just laughing at this comment here from Eric, where he basically said, let's not forget Australia was where Great Britain sent all the criminals back in the day. So chances are it's probably why some of this shit's happening. So
that's facts. That's facts.
To be fair, I don't think Garcia sounds like a name that came from Great Britain, but my name didn't come from Great Britain either. But it's still a fair question to ask. Patches basically says, crazy. Is the FBI's been watching the hobby since the PWCC investigation started? Do these people think they stopped listening and pay attention? Like, I think a lot of people do, and a lot of people are really naive to this sort of stuff. But there's so many things, especially with PWCC. I spoke to those one-of-one duplicates the other month, and I've still not got a response from them in like 7 weeks. So I keep chasing them, but I think I might have to start pushing a little bit harder because it's a bit of a shit show happening there as well, unfortunately. We know that's not the case because he interviewed Dr. Beckett recently, but I think there was something I wanted to talk to earlier where we mentioned that there's a shift in the narrative, right? From, like, you could say that in the last 12 months, I think it's very fair to say that they're much more supportive of collectors-owned businesses than anything else. And previously they were quite, infatuated, I guess, with BGS. And if that rumor is true that they did in fact work for BGS and then all of a sudden, stopped working for them, maybe that gives some substance to the fact that they've shit on Beckett so much in the last 6 months.
Potential conflict of interest with everything that's transpired since that narrative change. Like, that's a huge potential conflict of interest.
Yeah. But like, that's where my mind again goes, because did that relationship get fractured for some reason, and now they're trying to get revenge on it? And again, that's very tinfoil, but those are the things that you need to ask in situations like this, where, like I said, to open the stream, you've got Darren Ravel using very key language in what he's talking about. He's using words that, a reporter would not use unless they had a lot more evidence than what they're alluding to. And I think there's a lot more, information to come on this. And I think it's going to get pretty wild, because I think you're going to get people coming out of the woodworks basically saying, you know what, I got scammed out of this, or I got scammed out of that. Because, also keep in mind, if you've basically done those scams and you are Cardporn, the biggest account in the industry, it's pretty easy to shut people down, right? It's pretty easy to use your relationship with the likes of PSA or BGS or Ken Golden or these other people to say, you know what, don't listen to this person. They're full of shit.
For sure. I mean, look what they tried doing to Raul.
Yeah. Yep, it's crazy. You got Tom again giving a comment basically saying it'll take years to build a case. Like, definitely, but I think some things definitely do move quickly, especially when you're talking about the potential amount of money that was put through this charity.
I do agree that it does take a long time for something like that to be built, but with the money you're talking about in the olive branches of how many different auctions and like the Jordan Star that just came up. Like, I was going to ask you earlier, when was that from? You happen to know? I know you brought it up on the blog, but it was too small for me to see any dates.
Yeah, sorry. It was July 2021. So 2 years ago.
Okay.
Man,
this has been going on that long, and he's been this, well, I don't know, whoever's been this Watchdog account, and this stuff's been going on for that long. Damn.
Yeah, it goes to that story I told you about, that Aussie guy that was doing the same thing with watches, right? It was something that nobody had any information on, and then like, oh, I can't click with my hand because my arthritis, but in this hand I can. Overnight, you had dozens of stories of people saying, you know what, I got fucking scammed too, and this stuff just kept trickling down. So, what's weird is what Tom has again said over here, where why delete everything? Because if it is just this one instance of this one photograph, right, you as an individual being duped yourself, right, that's not that big of a deal. But why delete the account? That's why, again, I initially thought it had something to do with the Spiegel lawsuit more than anything else. But again, if it's only one photo, why delete everything?
That's why I asked earlier, like, if the behavior pattern lines up with somebody who has nothing to hide, or if there's nothing, you know what I mean? Like, why would you? I mean, obviously you're trying to scrub evidence or potential other, I don't know, there could be other things involved that maybe link to that account that you can go back and look at. And, I mean, I don't know, if 2 + 2 is 4, it's like a guilty account, wouldn't be taking these actions. I'm assuming, I'm assuming, but still, it's not a good look. It's not a good look at all.
Yeah, we've got the pretend Cardporn in the house. I wish it was the real one. But it's just
all speculation.
It's just a really interesting thing. It's just I can't grasp that, right? I feel like there's a smoking gun somewhere happening here. I really hope Darren comes out with something else, but I would really like him to dig deeper into that, BGS working relationship with Cardporn, because if people can ask him that question on my behalf, because I don't think he's seen it, that would be a really easy thing for him to give a quick call to someone at Beckett and say, we have this question. This Instagram account says they used to work from you, or somebody alleges that they used to work for you. Did that happen? Okay, what did they get authenticated while they had that working relationship with you? Because if we go back to that golden auction where they had the dozens and dozens and dozens of items, authenticated by Beckett, and they were authenticated during that time, that raises a fuck ton of questions. Like that should, like, that's where things get pretty interesting.
Yeah.
See what other comments we got here. There's someone basically saying Victoria detectives, that Victoria is the state that Melbourne is based in, on Juan Garcia already. Things have been in the works for over a year and hopefully escalating quickly. I would like to chat to you a little bit more on that, to be honest, because I'd imagine there's a lot of stuff happening here in Australia as well, if these rumors are to be believed. But pretty wild. Has anything else caught your eye, Steve, on this stuff that maybe we didn't cover yet?
I don't know. You're doing a pretty good job covering what I've been looking at. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I think this one here from
I just
Campbell
want to
looking-
I just want to figure out what else Darren knows.
Yeah,
Because I agree with you. Like the way it's worded, it almost seems like, dude, for him to come out, because he's not a conspiracy type. You know what I mean? So for him to word it that way, I kind of took it when we were talking earlier in the thread. Like I was thinking, like, there's definitely either more he can present or he knows more. He's just maybe not comfortable talking publicly enough yet. I mean, I don't know, but that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I want to know more. I'm curious as to like how deep this rabbit hole gets, because it could be deep. Maybe we're over speculating, but
and I think the key thing there is we could be over speculating, but I think the questions are very fair to be asking. Based, like you could ask anyone that's not biased in this situation and say, "What do you think about this?" They'd be like, "Yeah, let's look into that." And this goes to Kurt Angle Rookie's comment here. Wonder if anyone's looking back at that batch of auction items from a few months ago. That's what I was talking to a bit earlier. So they listed a bunch of items for sale on Golden. Most of those items, it looks like, were authenticated by BGS. And somebody came to me today with some information, or yesterday, I should say, that they had a working relationship with BGS, i.e. Cardporn was associated with BGS. So then the question comes, did they get these things authenticated while they had that relationship? If they did, that's a big bloody problem. The person said Dan for PM. Catch up with me at the Hobby Hangout. A few people have basically said they're going to throw things at me, insults, because I'm doing a presentation or talking on stage, I should say, at this card show here in Sydney. So that'll be pretty cool, but hopefully they don't throw things at me, which, wouldn't put it past people these days. I've pissed a few people off, but that's pretty fair. Tom again talking about the First Amendment, so shutting up isn't an option, which I think is a good thing to point out. But again, the one thing with this sort of stuff is not to go too tinfoil with some of the questions, because then you basically lose people. But it is what it is. Let me see if there's anything else here. Do you have any cards you want to show off, Steve?
I just actually bought one the other day. I think I shared it in our group. It was a second-year LT Black Refractor, Topps Chrome Black Refractor. Do I have anything I can show up? I just sent some stuff off to PSA through my buddy. I don't know if I have anything handy right now. I haven't been buying a whole bunch. I was just on vacation.
Yeah, sorry, I put you on the spot real good.
I should have had something ready.
No, that's right.
About it. I did get another KD Flawless, but that's off at PSA. I cracked my Charizard and I sent it off to PSA. No Kurt's Card Care, though. And I cracked my Jokic Silver. I really don't have anything new to show off, bro. This is like one of the few times you caught me with my pants down.
All good.
Oh, I guess I could show this off. It's been a while, but I haven't shown it off on your channel. So I like 90s inserts, especially baseball, because that's when baseball was awesome. Give me the steroids. So this is a 97 Hot Gloves, Barry Bonds. Had a Flair Showcase, PSA 9. It's pretty
that's pretty good to get a 9 considering it's die cut, right?
The die cut, yeah. It's not. I'd have to check the pop. I mean, I'm sure it's overprinted, but it is like one of those baseball inserts that everybody likes. So that's probably all I really have to show off right now. But yeah, those die cuts you think about it, from the 90s, like if you can keep that thing in nice enough condition with all those edges, a 9 might as well be a 10 for me. And if it's in my PC, it might as well be a 10.
Was sleeves even a thing back then? I don't remember buying any as a kid.
I did. My dad was like super like on us about it, dude. When we would buy boxes and stuff as kids, like Papa Rob would have me and my brother, or my brother and I, like as soon as we bought, we knew we had an insert, $20 card, $10 card. It went right into a soft sleeve, right into a top loader. We had everything set up. We'd open up our boxes.
That's cool.
Soft sleeves, the top loaders, and the Beckett was right there. We'd soft sleeve it, top load it, and we'd look it up in the Beckett right there, write it down. I mean, I was lucky. My old man taught my brother and I, the right way.
No, that's cool. That's a good thing to do.
And we knew
I
as
was always-
kids, like right away, everything was condition sensitive.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't
that's
hang
awesome,
our
right?
cards around. Now, my brother and I did have binders, but we knew if we hit like a $10, $20 card at the time in the 90s, that was a big hit. You know what I mean? That shit was going in a soft sleeve and then in a top loader.
Yep. You got Ryan there, your brother, basically saying yes, train very well, which is awesome. You need to keep your stuff protected because for those of us that are like collectors in that lens, right? It's the story behind it. It's interacting with the card. It's more about all those kinds of things as much as hitting a cool card, right? Because it's all the memories as well, which is really, really cool. There was something else I wanted to talk to today, but I don't remember what it was. But all in all, I think it's just an interesting one. I think we need to keep paying close attention to what Darren has to say. Like I said last night, I recorded my video, and then half an hour later, we had the other accounts basically disappear. I think there's just a lot more to come, and something that I think is going to be a big bloody deal that could involve a lot more people than what we think right now. Because at the moment, it's just one account.
Effect. There's a big potential domino effect of things. And that's why, like, this morning, I was helping my neighbor. I was cutting their grass, and then I got in the house, and all this was, I was sharing people's stories, Raul's, everybody's that was talking about it, because it was like, a lot of people were talking about this account a long time ago, and nobody else wanted to give any credit or wanted to back it up and saying, yeah, like there's obviously a narrative change. So I was kind of like looking all over social media this morning, watching college football, just trying to see if anything else was to come out. Like, I'm kind of waiting if Darren's got anything else to say about it, if he's willing to go public about anything else, because I'm interested. People like us have, like, maybe that's what I mean. Like, I'm not shocked, but like this specific of fraud linked to the account is where I'm, that's where I'm like, oh shit, like, wow, I wasn't expecting this. Like, I figured something was up with this account.
Yeah, because we heard whispers and things like that, but at best you thought it was, or at worst I should say, this person's paid for by this company, then just not talking about these kinds of things, or they're trying to suppress information about this kind of stuff. But this just looks so much worse than what anyone could have ever hoped, or not hoped is the wrong word. Anyone could have thought of.
Anybody else goes ghost now. If that happens, then it's like, they knew shit. They were involved. They, they were linked to the account somehow, or an auction or whatever. Yeah,
but Raul deserves a big pat on the back, because he has been talking about this for a long time. I think he and I did a stream together like a long time ago, and we kicked things off, and then I did a few videos, he did a few videos, and we sort of went back and forth, off the back of each other. And then I sort of stopped because I sort of thought, okay, I had enough information here, but he kept going. He raised lots of questions that are now starting to look very on the money, which is pretty common for his channel, where people sort of laugh at him, unfairly, because they say he's too tinfoil or he's asking dumb questions, but in reality, he gets proved right, I think, a lot more often than not. So he definitely deserves the shout out and the pat on the back for that.
Yeah, dude. Shout out to Raul. He called this a long time ago. You guys have both done good work. A lot of people have done good work.
A lot of people have,
You know what I mean? A lot of people have. Yeah, man. I mean, I guess he deserves his roses, and he deserves his smiles and his laughs today, because you can't trust, and like he's like coined the hobby elites, and like, if this isn't like what's going on in the macro world, like, we have that same structure in this hobby. It's like people just got to open their eyes and see it. It's like we're the sheep, we're the pawns. We're here for their profits. Like, they don't care about collectors. It's just like any other market. We're seeing it. They want to pump us and dump us, baby.
Yep, definitely. And as this person said here, could be the Bill Mastro event of this era, which is very, very true, depending on how deep this thing actually goes. One thing I wanted to quickly mention, you mentioned you cut your neighbor's grass again, Steve. I think I told you what that means here in Australia. So.
Oh yeah, well, I wasn't not that type of cut grass. I was.
I think there's a few Aussies in the chat. I think Jay's still here, and maybe Jay can explain it for people in the comments. But when
that's
you're here,
right. I forgot. I got all the Aussie peeps in the building. Come follow me.
In Australia, where you say you cut your neighbor's grass, it means you banged your neighbor's missus. So, not actually mowed their lawn. So, just thought I'd share that. Every time Steve says it, I think it's pretty funny.
I do cut a lot of grass, and I'm not talking about the funny. I'm not talking about the hanky panky. I'm talking about my whole family has me on the ringer, man.
On the payroll.
I'm good for like 7 yards a week. It's
You get your brother
ridiculous.
here saying for shame. At least you're getting good because it's not a ride-on, right? It's a push mower.
No, yeah, I push everything.
Yeah, so good
Yeah,
cardio, good for the calves. I
that's
got
right.
Cardporn here saying we need to talk about other things. This makes me think this Cardporn account is actually Ziggy, which I think might bring some money because
It might
I'm
be.
pretty
They
sure
came out
Ziggy's
with
always
Card
talking about
Ladder
card
real fast. Shout out Ziggy. He was in the chat earlier. Shout out Ziggy. I think he had to
Yeah.
leave. He might came back as fake Cardporn.
Well, if he did it, because we missed a lot of comments at the start because we were just going on a ramble, so I wasn't ignoring anyone, so please don't think that. But this is an interesting one again. I think I was talking with Sports Car Nonsense the other day about not Card Ladder, who's the other one? Is it Slab Stocks?
Yeah,
Where
I
the
remember
two
you doing
brothers,
the video
right?
talking to them about them.
Yeah, like how quickly the hobby forgets, right? Because you might have an instance here with Cardporn. Someone mentioned earlier in the chat that I briefly saw where they sort of said, how quickly do you think Cardporn is going to come back and people are going to forget? Because people have short memories in this hobby as well, as we've talked to many, many times. With the whole slab stock situation, in 2021, I think it was, or maybe in 2020, they were pumping cards through their platform saying, buy these cards, buy these cards, buy these cards. Meanwhile, they were selling the exact same cards on their mum's eBay account. And they got caught for it. And there was blow-up threads talking about it, which is still up. They had apology videos. It was out at the National that people were, going pretty hard at them. And everybody's forgotten that now. They've basically now had a card given to them by Topps in that big league set or whatever it's called. Like, it's just like insane to me how shit like this can happen in this industry and people turn a blind eye, which goes to the things I always talk about. When you see this stuff happening, you need to, not forget, hold people accountable.
It doesn't make you negative or a tinfoil hat lunatic like me, but it's like bring it to attention. It brings awareness so that other people can avoid these things.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to Cardporn themselves saying our content is negative. Like, we're talking about bad actors. Meanwhile, you're doing the same thing, but doing the shit in the background. So, like, how the fuck can you say we're negative and things like that? It's just, I'm crazy. I know I've sworn a lot today, but this stuff gets me pretty fired up. So,
yeah. Behave, Darlene. I see your comments.
What's Darlene saying?
She called me a Tasmanian American. Talking about cutting grass. She must be in Oz.
Yes. I get it. Yes.
Behave, Darlene.
I'm fairly certain, Darlene. I think I sold cards to you at the Hobby Hangout in Sydney, 2022. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your profile picture looks familiar. That's a good comment here from Jay the Messiah, as always, who's disappeared lately. We need him back. He's a good guy. Asked a lot of good questions. Really nice guy. That's
the best comment I've seen. Unfortunately, truth is the new hate speech. And, I have a certain belief system where it's like, I'm just accustomed to that. Anything that's truth anymore, you're demonized. People don't want to hear the truth because it forces you to it's not comfortable. Truth is supposed to help you grow. Truth is not supposed to make you feel rainbows and butterflies in your belly. That's not how it is. Truth is supposed to be uncomfortable for you to grow and learn, and hopefully if it's for the better, change your mindset. But see, people don't want that. That's too difficult. It's easier to just live in lies and deceit. And unfortunately, that's what, I get along with so many people in this hobby. Like if I go to shows or I know other guys like Neo comment, I get along with so many people and have great relationships. Now, I may have a different mindset when I look at something, but that doesn't make me negative. That's where, or you or Raul or anybody, you're not negative for taking yourself away and questioning these things and saying, hey, there's a potential conflict of interest here. And then someone you guys, not me, I'm an idiot, but you guys who have stuff, you guys question these things, and it's you got to go 6 months being told how bad you are, and then it's well, okay.
Yeah. Well, I had the same thing happen to me with the whole baseball card exchange situation. I raised the concerns about their ability to authenticate, sports boxes after the Pokemon thing, and everyone said I was an idiot. And then months later, the whole thing happened out at the National. I just find that stuff weird. The other thing I find really freaking weird, actually, is the really common trend I'm seeing when people are getting interviewed in this space, where they'll open things up by saying, "I don't agree with everything you say, but I like this." I just find it really, soy boy in the modern age, where you feel you need to say that before you have a conversation with someone, because, in the world, right, you're not going to agree with everything that everybody says all the time, right? It's all about having open and honest discussions. So
that's another thing that's changed within society. It's there used to be a time where you could have these discussions and it was okay to just disagree. Now it's
Yeah.
like, look how they try to gatekeep you guys, people like you
Yep.
and Raul. Like, yeah, you have a different sentiment, but now, like, nothing against Mike or Gio or whatever his name is, like from the sports card nonsense. Like, it's more acceptable to talk to you and Raul, guys like that now than it was, a year ago.
Mm. Yeah,
But
definitely. And I think at the same time,
kudos to him and others who are willing to have the conversation now. It's just like, can you see like where a lot of us are coming from, where it's like, we're not negative. We look at things a
yeah,
little bit differently, and it's okay to disagree. It doesn't make somebody like a bad person, except for
yeah,
Dio.
exactly.
Dio's a bad person. He's in here just shitting on me.
Well, he got me excited the other day because he said
We
football
just
cards had a special at PSA and they were freaking NFL cards, not soccer. So I was very disappointed. But
he,
um,
he's just mad he doesn't
clicked the
have
link
as
so
handsome
fast.
as a buggy buddy in Shipshawana right now. He wishes I was there, and I can feel the love, even though the words are hate.
Yeah, that's very fair. Yeah, back to the sports card nonsense guys. At least they used to give me shout outs on their podcast, right? They've been doing that for a long time, but there's so many people that would turn a blind eye. And I think it just goes to things we talked to at the very start of this, where you have these very big platforms like Cardporn that are sort of controlling the narrative. They're in with so many people because so many people see them as a platform. They want to interact with them. And they're saying, don't listen to this person, don't listen to that person. And then it's basically dominoes all the way down. So, like, one of the good things to come from all the shit we've seen over the last 12 months, because we've seen a lot, probably more than we did in the 12 months beforehand, is that people are a lot more, switched on to this kind of thing. There's a comment here from Jason, just before you mentioned something, Steve, asking me if Parramatta injuries get me fired up. Yes, I don't want to talk about the NRL season this year because we freaking finished 12th out of 18 teams in the final last year. Suspensions, injuries cost us. So every time Parramatta's losing, this guy messages me on Instagram and basically gives me shit for it. So he knows how to poke the bear. But you were going to say something, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah, we talked a long time ago. I don't know if you remember, but I definitely remember. It's like I think we were talking about, like, it's not about people liking us or anything like that. Like, of course we want positive engagement. We want to, we want to be friendly with everybody. But like, to go back to the sports card nonsense, like them having you on, Rob the therapist had both of us on. Like, if you don't like us, that's fine. You don't have to, or you don't have to agree. But as long as the message is getting out there where it's like, hey, the hobby's kind of waking up to this, like you were saying, like the sentiment's changing, the market's down, and I think that it's gotten everybody to kind of have that level head, because I think everybody was so built up when the market was booming in 2020, 2021. Now that everything's come down, it's like now everybody's back on earth and they can kind of see straight again, that inflated aura of the investor and all this stuff. Like, you can trust your influencer, trust your local influencer. It's like, nah, maybe not,
Yeah, definitely not.
Maybe
And as I said before, people shouldn't even trust me. Like, you don't know me. People don't know me. Even if I know you, like, you've seen so many people get scammed by friends as well. Like, it's a really shitty thing to say, but people are just too trustworthy these days as well. I like this comment here from Patches where he talks about people being okay with the guy. I think I did a video on the other day, Steve, where you saw the guy pull out the Denver Broncos patch and replace it in the
dude, like
NT card, and people were okay with it, and I just find that crazy.
What's the point of having a game use patch? Like,
well, that one wasn't game used, by the way. That one was
well, it was a rookie. Wasn't it a rookie?
Yeah.
So it's not game.
Yeah.
But still, it's like I want it pack pulled. I want it pristine from the company. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just, weird how people are sort of replacing those things, and then the comments you're saying, but they made it better, or it wasn't player associate anyway, so what's the big... It's
just like when the card trading shit was going on, comments around that, I'm sitting here thinking, like, what the fuck are people on? Like, what are you talking about? This isn't cool. That's the definition of fraud.
Yep, exactly. But it's just weird. It's just weird.
This hobby
here, listen to your eyes. I missed the Sports Card Radio live stream yesterday, so I'm not sure what this comment from Patches means, but I know some things went down. A really good comment here from Jason, so I'm trying to get him on to do a stream. So we've had this planned for ages, but I'm really difficult to get a hold of because I'm a dickhead, to be honest. I'm really hard to lock down, but we're going to have something going because we want to talk about things like serial numbered cards, how overprinted they are and how much of a lie they are. All the different parallels and things like that. He's done really good work on talking to that stuff in the past. So expect to see him on hopefully very soon, not next weekend because I've got a wedding, but hopefully not too long thereafter.
Well,
but he's basically said the hobby is for
a wedding. All I've been going to is funerals lately.
Yeah, well, I've got another funeral coming up, unfortunately.
Damn, I didn't mean to That's shit.
No, that's all right.
Sorry.
That's great, but it's fucking life, right? Used to it at this age where you get to our age and the people around us start dropping like flies, unfortunately. But you got Jason here saying, hobby's full of scum without people speaking freely and pulling the dirty linen out of the closet. It will only go further downhill, which is, a really good point, because you've seen a lot of stuff, like I said, not just with content creators, but, calling this stuff out, but you've also seen it in things like the blowout forums where people are making threads talking about things, but they're also getting deleted. And it's just weird how that's happening. So,
yeah.
But
Wasn't it Mind Cycle that had something like he had it on a blowout and it got deleted or something?
Yeah, so that was the whole Jeff Wilson situation.
Yeah, as far as like the buying versus the investment, like he brought up receipts and metrics, and he got bastardized for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, which they're not sure. So I actually spoke to Jeff on that. I think I spoke about that in a video. So I sent him a DM, or someone from his team a DM, and they said they had nothing to do with that. Whether that's true or not, it's hard to know, because again, I don't know these people. I can't trust them, but I can only go off. You got Tom over here basically saying, I don't understand why you're calling them sports card nonsense. They talk more real than you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know why you're watching this.
I'm not saying anything against sports card nonsense. Yeah. I hope, if anybody's listening, like, I'm not shitting on them at all. It definitely wasn't. It just seems like guys like your voice is now carrying a lot more weight. People are willing to have these discussions about these taboo topics versus how it was a year and a half, 2 years ago. That's all.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. You got Jason over here saying he hopes I'm not a scammer because he wants his Brady. So that Brady that I shared the other day, Steve, is Jason bought it. He actually bought a Tiger Woods auto. I think it was SP. Was it SP Authentic? Is that what it was, Jason?
Ooh.
Through my account as well, that he also needs to pay for. So
that's sexy, but not as sexy as a KD Flawless. I had to get it in. I had to.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's my favorite one that you own, to be honest.
The one I just sent off to PSA, now this came back a 9. The one I just sent off is a gold out of 25. Now that year, the golds were out of 25. To be honest with you, this patch is nasty. I can send it to you later, but like you've seen it. The newer KD I sent off, like, dude, it rivals that one. It's a sick patch.
Yeah. Which is like that, like game worn stuff is so cool.
Bro,
like,
well, if it's game worn, if somebody swap it out.
Yeah. I just think as a sports fan, to be able to have that and maybe try and match it, you should try and figure out which game they're from, actually. Wax Museum podcast has done a few videos on how to actually do that and how to find the auctions the jerseys came from.
Way too low IQ to pull that off.
I'll do it for you because I'm OCD like that. But I just think it's so cool. I told you there was a Gianluigi Buffon Eminence patch order that I wanted to win, and I missed out by like a few $100s. I should have bid more. But I spent like 3 days prior to the auction ending figuring out exactly which game it was from, and I found it because I photo matched it to live footage, not a fake photo from Mr. Cardporn. But and then I lost it, so I did all that hard work for nothing. But you got Travis here, never trust a man that says don't trust me, which I think is a saying that you should not trust anyone really. Basically, like Neo says here, trust yourself, not others, which I think is the key thing. And it's like a sad thing to say, right? Because you want to be, nice to people, and you want to but it's nice to know you can have like an open relationship with people and sort of feel safe in that regard. But you've just seen too many people get burned, unfortunately. So it goes to something that I've talked to before on this channel, the way I approach buying and selling cards. I think I talked about it in my video earlier today. I make everything self-funded by my hobby. If I sell a card, I try and get a profit for the most part, like most people do. And then if there's another card I want to buy, I will not buy it until I've got enough profit to fund it. And that's purely for the reason that if I ever get scammed, the card technically was free. Yes, I've spent money on it, but technically it was free because it cost me nothing but profit. And then if the market ever tanks, I'm not out of pocket either. So that's the approach I like to take.
Look at Travis blaspheming in this chat. Damn you, Travis. He says in 20 years, people will be saying, who's KD?
Well, to be honest, it might happen. That's a good thing for you because you can buy the.
Let's just gang up on.
You should look forward to that though, because it means the cards will be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, until he wins one in Phoenix, maybe. Honestly, that's nice. Helpful. I'm not.
I told you, like up until he moved from OKC, he was my favorite player. But you got Darlene over here saying the only thing I'm wrong about is the frame jersey behind me. It says toilet paper, which We haven't won the comp since 1986, so may as well be toilet paper at this
Hey,
stage.
that's like me as a Notre Dame fan. We haven't done shit since 1988.
Yeah, so just as freaking long, unfortunately. But we've been close. Like, we lost in 01 to probably the greatest player of all time, the equivalent of our Tom Brady. And then in 09, we lost to a team cheating the salary cap by 25%, and then we lost last year.
You were telling me
We've
about
had a lot
that
of close
before.
calls. We're very much like the Boston Red Sox in that sense, where they got really close a number of times, and every time they did lose, it was because they did something like only the Boston Red Sox could lose a game on, right? And that's what we basically did. As you've got Adam Smith over here saying that Eels are actually gross, which is disappointing. Who does that? Adam, who do you support? Because I guarantee it's probably worse than the Eels. So, see what other comments are here. He thinks I'm screening comments. I'm not screening comments. I've just got so many that it's hard to go through them all. So if there's something you want to ask, Travis, ask the question.
Yeah, I brought up your KD hate. I'm not. Nobody's screening you.
Oh, he thought you were talking about sports card radio. When you were talking about sports card nonsense, he thought you were taking the piss.
Oh no, I wasn't pissing on them. I'm just, flipping Steve. What up?
I'm so far behind
Steve,
the comments.
I have a feeling flipping Steve is. Dude, did you see his video with his
it was
fantasy
so good.
football? Bro, that was sick. Oh my god, I was at work when I watched it. And
How's it going,
somebody asked me,
Steve?
like,
Again,
dude, what are you laughing about? I was like, dude, you don't get it. You just don't get it.
If some of my subscribers haven't checked out his stuff, do check it out because he does some great things. I love his videos that he records when he's driving on the way to work because I think that's pretty raw content, and he's also got some really good things to say about how you should be approaching collecting. And he also had a bit of an issue with, I think it was FedEx and BGS yesterday, so check out that video because that's a good one as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
But maybe that's why Steve came in. Maybe his ears were burning because I'm really far behind in the comments, and he probably thinks I'm Dustin. He's getting those spidey sense tingling.
I swear, he's like the hobby uncle.
Yeah.
I've never met him in person. When we did a stream on Raul's channel, I can't remember, but we did a stream and he popped up, and man, he's full of wisdom.
Yeah, really good. He does some really good stuff where he gives away a trip to the National every single year, and it doesn't get enough focus or credit. And they're doing a NFL fantasy football tournament with a bunch of different influencers at the moment to try and bring more awareness to it, but then also spread the cost so it's not just on Steve to fund this, which is a pretty amazing thing that he does. So again, if you haven't seen it, please do check it out because there's ways, I think, to donate yourself, or I think there might be some prizes, and apologies if I'm putting words in their mouth, but it's good. Check it out, participate, because it's got a really good outcome for the hobby, and we need more stuff like that, to be perfectly honest.
Donate to Steve's national trip and buy KD cards.
Well, like I said,
there are two things you should do with your funds, obviously.
And Flawless Soccer too. Buy Flawless Soccer because it's dirt freaking cheap. Patches over here. My real worry is how many influencers are pushing in-person autos now. People are asking pack pulled prices for in-person autos, and it's scary. 5 years from now, tons of people will learn a lesson by buying them. I agree. I've already done a video on this. I think we talked about it in the IG DMs, Patches, where it's already happening. You've had people like Cage Lawyer, who's had his own challenges in the past with some of this kind of content, but he's talking about the fact that people are barking up the wrong tree by doing this sort of thing, and it is very scary who's pushing it, because again, it's one of those things that goes to when people were talking about the investment side of thing, right? They're saying invest in cards, invest in cards, invest in cards.
Yeah.
But really, if you want to invest in cards, you need to be very targeted with what you're buying. Like, it's going to be things, and again, Jeff Wilson has been one of the ones pointed at for pumping this sort of stuff, but some of the things he's picked up are like rookies of Mickey Mantle that are autographed and in a higher grade, right? Yes, there could be a lot of those out there, but if there's going to be something that you want to be buying from an in-person auto perspective, from my perspective, that's the kind of stuff you're looking for, not someone like
not someone with base rookie cards.
Yeah, but even like a KD rookie having an in-person auto on there, like how easy is it going to be to try and get that? I don't know how often he signs, but surely if you're a kid waiting outside of a basketball venue, you can get one signed, bang, and then all of a sudden they start selling for big money. Next minute there's thousands of them, right? It's just one of those things people need to be very careful with.
That's why I'd pick you about. I mean, you brought him up, but like I'm gonna marvel over him. That's why I target KD flawless autos. I want to get specific. Like I would like the best of the best, in my opinion, because I agree he signs a ton. You know what I mean? Like he just signs so. It's like Peyton Manning. My brother's a big Peyton Manning collector and fan. Like I can appreciate, but like if I was a collector, I'd want his playing day pack pooled on card autos versus like all this stuff because he signs a bunch of stickers, he signs all kinds of product. Like you got to
Yep.
be you like you said, you got to be smart and target what's going to be worthwhile in the long term. Don't think right now. Think like 10 years when you buy
Yeah,
it.
you need to look at things through the lens of what a collector actually wants, because at the end of the day, collectors are the end consumer. I talked about this again with sports card nonsense the other day. I think the conversation around whether or not a bubble would come again or whether people would be pumping, I don't think that's going to happen the same way it did, because you had so many new people come in and they fell for like the BS, right?
Right.
That's not going to happen again. People are a lot more targeted with what they're buying now, and you need to buy the things that the collector wants. And it's going to be game use stuff. It's going to be on-card autos, and it's going to be stuff from very specific sets. Like, you're going to see this, I think with NFL, you're going to see this expedited very quickly. I think you're going to see some Panini stuff fall off a cliff really quickly. Outside of rookies, I think some of the random sets and the random parallels, which we've talked to before, Steve, it's going to fall pretty hard in my opinion.
And to be honest with you, like, not that I push back, I agree with you. Like, rookie stuff's always going to be more coveted, but to a degree. Like, from like Joe Burrow, Herbert, Hurts, Purdy, like guys in the last 3 years that have been rookie quarterbacks, like their autographs are not that rare.
Yep.
So you better target the nice sets from their rookie years, like the on card autos. Like there's sticker autos and decent products like Prism. Like what's going to happen with Prism? You know what I mean? And then there's sticker autos. Is that going to be the collected thing in 5-10 years? But that's not the narrative that got pushed when this all got inflated.
Exactly.
It's because everybody wanted the quick flip. It wasn't about collecting. It wasn't geared towards collectors. And that's why like people like me kind of took a step back, is like, you know, I'm just going to sit back and go after the cards I want to have in 10, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to see what's going to happen to things like a 6th-year LeBron Prism Gold compared to a first-year Topps Chrome Gold or a second-year Topps Chrome Gold that we're about to get in the next 5 years. I mean, like that's going to be the thing. I think that's where the differences will come. Like, why I've talked this before as well. Why is a 6th or 7th-year LeBron Gold from Prism any special? Because there's 5 more years after that he has them for, how many there is now. Like, it's just crazy.
Agree. Is there a value? For sure. But is it the value we're seeing currently, like in the long term? I don't know. Yeah.
And the other thing people need to keep front of mind, again, this is going into the topics that Jason and I are going to talk to, but, you know, if you've got Prism came out in 2013, I think 2012, first year, 2012 first year. So this is like the 11th year. Is it 11th or 12th year? He's got a gold in every single one of those. So every single year that increases by 10 more cards, right? And now you've also got other golds coming into those sets as well. So you've gone from having a really small problem.
Because you like highlight certain sets. Like I can understand why the first year Prism LeBron Gold will have that collector's coveted, you know, allure to it. After that, though, you know, like you said, there's the print count rises, and like, yeah, you can argue, well, there's only 10 per year, but like when you add up all these years, it's like, in the long term, is it that rare? Is it that coveted? Like that's why, like the specific sets matter,
or the specific imagery. Like I think you've got a LeBron X Fractor, right? With is he wearing the face mask?
Yep, the top.
So that would be pretty cool, because I think that's the only one. I think you know, things like championship winning seasons, I think is also a really cool one, because like stuff like that's going to be what collectors like, because
damn glare.
A prism gold is a prism gold, right? Yeah. You need to look for the things that actually make it more meaningful for you as a collector to actually buy. I'm a bit behind. My name is Dan, not Juan. maybe I am. I actually had someone, funnily enough, thought that I was Cardporn because I had an Aussie accent, even though our voices sound completely freaking different, which is a pretty funny one. I've had a few people grumpy at me for the comments, Steve, so maybe we can just click through a couple now.
Yeah, bro.
Again, I think this is a good one as well about Sports Card Radio, because they've never shied away from that fact, right? I think people go up in arms about them and golden relationships potentially, or them, you know, spruiking for certain businesses and putting down others. But again, they've never said they wouldn't do things like that. They've openly said they'd take a bag. Now, I'm not sure if they have taken a bag or not and got paid by someone, but again, people can't be grumpy because they've openly said in multiple videos that they would happily do it. So that's my perspective on that one. Yes, he was talking about SCR. Again, I don't trust photo match stuff as well, unless you can match it to like game use footage, I think. But again, even then, people could make a fake. So it's one of those ones you just need to be very careful who you're dealing with this sort of stuff. It's not hard to avoid Golden, Propstein, and the Shady Fucks. Find a seller that exemplifies the morals and ethics you choose, or hold close and support them. Yeah, I think it's a very fair statement to make. I've bought from Golden. I've talked to that before on the channel. I had an issue that they helped fix. I didn't really. I found their customer support actually to be the best out of every business within this hobby, which I think is one tick in their book. But I just buy everything from everywhere, and I think it goes to what I said earlier. I apply that zero cost based approach, pay things with profit. So if I ever do get scammed, so be it. Let's see if there's anything else. This is the
Olive Garden is an 8 out of 10, so they can't be trusted.
Yeah. My rule, I think we already talked to this one. I believe I'm really far behind. You can literally call me Dustin right now because I'm very far behind on the chat. He's talking to Tom there, having a conversation amongst themselves.
We need to get Travis a KD Prism Gold.
Is that somewhere? That comment?
No, he's talking about Prism Golds are nice, but if it's a player's 150th gold, who cares?
Yeah.
Unless it's KD.
Yeah, unless it's KD, or unless it's a flawless soccer card, but there's only 1 year of those, so it doesn't hold strong for me.
And it's funny that you brought that up because, like, dude, I'm a super KD collector and fan. I don't target his Prism Golds. Like, that's one thing I don't really like. Maybe if it's the 2012 first, like those are outrageously priced, but like I don't know if even that would be something that would really tickle my fancy. Like I like his earlier Topps Chrome stuff because you never see him in his Sonic
exactly
stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep,
like that's why, I do agree. I agree with you, Travis, if it's their 150th gold, even if it's KD, because I don't target them.
But even then you're approaching it like a collector, right? So you're finding the avenues that you find interesting, which is the things that other KD collectors are also going to find interesting for the most part. Like Patches has said, he's funded his collection by selling cards for 20 years now. I think Adam Gray, the real 27 guy, talks that all the time, and he's got some really cool shit. He did a really, it was with DPZ, I think it was, Steve, the interview he did where he talks through his...
the link and I watched it. It was really good.
I love hearing him talk about that because I can resonate a lot to it. So every now and then I go back and rewatch it because hearing him talk about those cards and how he approaches buying them, I think is something that every collector needs to be across because you'll resonate quite a lot with it. Let me see what else there is.
Gnarly collection too, man.
Yeah, unreal. A lot of first-year eminent staff with the Dream Team jerseys in there. Some really freaking pretty cool shit, to be honest. You've got some people here talking about Notre Dame.
Here we go. All the hate. Bringing up Manti Te'o and his fake girlfriend.
Is this an inside joke about the hot women?
No, they're usually notorious for having ugly women.
Okay.
It's in the middle of Indiana, bro. Like they're not USC or Texas, like or any of the Florida schools. Like, although they have upgraded their cheerleaders, like that's as sexist as I'm getting tonight.
Well, we got rid of the cheerleaders in the NRL, unfortunately. Only a few clubs still have them.
Be honest with you, they're irrelevant. Nobody needs cheerleaders.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things that like it's been there since the sport basically started for them. At least for the most part. So it's part of the atmosphere now. ZA Crazy One or Zar Crazy One, who I met in person at a card show here, basically says Parramatta sucks. My team up the Rabbitohs, which is a team from South Sydney. My dad supports them, I should say. Steve Pump and Sam Darnold. I did own some Sam Darnold cards back in the day.
But flipping Steve's transparent when he's prospecting some guy.
Yeah, for sure. And
you know what I mean? Like, I respect him. Like, he's like, hey, this is a guy I think that has some potential, and he's not looking to make thousands and thousands and try to flip one of one NT, crazy shit like that. It's like, let me pick up a few and make a couple bucks.
Well, because that's all you want, right? People would be transparent. Because you've got people out there that will talk up a player, but they're not telling you they're selling it. There was a very famous card show vlogger that spoke about how they bought their Grail piece and then they had it listed for sale immediately afterwards. It's like just crazy how this stuff happens.
The Grail narrative has been so like overused and like watered down in this hobby. It's crazy.
Do you have a Grail that you don't own?
That I don't own? Man, on the spot. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever obtain it, but I would really like to get a second-year exquisite patch auto of KD.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going for the rookie because I want it game used. Now, I'm pretty sure that the rookie stuff is game used and exquisite. I'm pretty sure. Now, I know 2003 and earlier it was. I'm not sure about 07, 08. But, like, for me, like, I'm not going to go to the rookie exquisite KD stuff because that's probably way out of my range. But if there is a grail that I could obtain, it'd probably be a second-year exquisite Sonics jersey KD patch auto.
I knew it was going to be a KD. That's why I asked. I already did the answer before I asked, even though it took you a while to get there. I don't think I've got one, to be honest. I've always found it weird looking at cards from that perspective, but it'd probably be something flawless related. I think of a certain soccer player, but again, it's really hard. Like I'd like a Larry Bird Eminence card, first year Eminence, maybe Kobe Bryant, something along those lines, something that I can resonate a bit further with. But I don't think I have one. Because I think it would be something associated with soccer, but I don't think there's anything out there that is crazy like that because the checklists are typically pretty poor in soccer, unfortunately.
You know what's weird, though, at least from my perspective, because I'm so player-driven. Like, yeah, there's grails out there, I would admit, like a Gaudy Babe Ruth or, the 52-man. Like, there's grails I admit are out there. But, like, something that I would want, yeah, it really narrows it down, and it kind of makes it hard to, like, pick. Like, to me, I would rather have, like, 5 exquisite LaDainian Tomlinson patch autos or like 4 or 5 KD flawless, then have one grail.
Yeah, I think I'm the same, to be honest, because like, if somebody was to say, I'm going to give you, like, take money out of it, like a Michael Jordan PSA 10 rookie, or maybe like 5 or 6 cards from Flawless Soccer, maybe some one-of-ones or some golds, I'd probably take the Flawless Soccer cards. Or I'd take a couple of like Eminence cards like a Larry Bird or Kobe Bryant, as I said, LeBron James, a few others, because I just feel like the jersey, the on-card auto just makes it a lot more cool to own, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yes, happy Father's Day to all the Aussie dads out there, because it is Father's Day. So yes, happy Father's Day, Jay. Which is pretty weird that we have Father's Day on separate days, which is why I was late today. I think I opened with that, so if you didn't catch it, that's why. I was too busy eating my spicy wings. Guy has a Jalen Hurts base prison for $950. You can buy his pack pulled once cheaper. It's just weird, the stuff you see. I think people are still stuck in the hole and are trying to play catch up and not. People are too committed to keeping these cards, and I think they're going to be burned pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Flawless isn't a set, that's why it's worth buying. They skirt the production requirements but not the player ones. They can limit by not making base cards. But like, don't they have base cards in Flawless?
I mean, everything's numbered. I mean, I guess technically he's right, because like even the like base cards, I'm pretty sure are numbered.
Yeah, so, that's a fair point, actually.
Yeah, I guess he's right. Like, I guess you could say, like, I want the gold flawless set or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't know if that makes it a set. So technically, he's technically right, because everything in flawless is numbered.
I'm surprised they didn't come out with base cards, to be honest, because that would have been a quick way for them to sprout the hits one step further.
Wet wipes? What do you mean flawless card? I think they remind me of like SP. That's why I like them so much. It's like a clean white card. It's like the autographs bold, and if there's a patch on there, usually it's a nice big chunky.
Yeah, I think they're the best looking cards, in my opinion. The patch autos, especially the horizontal ones, I know we agree on that. I think none look better than that.
Yep.
Basketball, they do it a bit better. So like the KD you showed earlier has got a very big patch window, very tall. Mm-hmm. On soccer, it's they generally go for like a player image on the left, and they do the patch and then the auto underneath, which I'm not always a fan of. Which I think that's how your new KD actually is as well, right? Where the auto's below the patch or above the patch. One you just sent off to PSA.
No, it's by the player.
Okay.
Or no, you're right. It's under the patch. It's under the patch. The one I have here is by the player.
It's by the player, which I think is cooler because it's got the bigger image of KD, which I do like. I'll go through a few more comments and then maybe wrap it up. Was there any things you wanted to add to this, Steve, or any comments you saw?
Nothing I really want to add. I'm pretty much just going by your flow.
No, this is a good comment here where
you picked out the good comments.
I think this one's a good one. where Jordan's basically saying, yes, it's rare, but just because he has 20 years of gold, it's still rare for each year, just like exotic. Like, I get that. But typically you see differences in the cars each year, like that are more than just cosmetic, right? They maybe have different transmissions, all that sort of thing, different features. I think these cards, like for the most part, I'm not saying that the 20th year or the 15th year is going to be worthless, right? It's still going to retain a big amount of money, but it's more so just me as a collector, they shouldn't be looked at as the same, right? There's going to be things that make some more appealing than others.
I feel like it just got pumped. You know what I mean? Like, I get it's an out of 10 card. Like, there's definitely a value there, but like this chase for the gold, it's like, I don't know. For me as a collector, it's overrated. Like for me, I like shiny cards. I prefer X fractors. Like I like the Bowman Chrome and Topps Chrome X fractors over like a gold shiny. But that's again, it's preference. It all comes down to collector's preference.
Yeah.
But I think the market of the golds got inflated. I do, because I agree. Like when you have a guy like LeBron or somebody who's played for that long, who has so many sets and so many gold sets, like. I get it. If you are a LeBron collector and that's your thing, like,
Yeah, and I didn't mean to downplay that at all. Got someone here saying I need to buy some new hats. I do have a stack of hats here. I just always wear the same ones because I don't like how some of these look when I'm on camera. So that's why you see me wearing the same one all the time.
And also down to like 2 hats because I've lost weight, I've gained weight, I've lost weight, I've built muscle, I've lost muscle. Like my head shapes change, and I'm not on HGH. I'm a Barry Bonds fan, but I'm not into his regimen, but like none of my hats fit me anymore. My head
I'm the same. I'm the same. This is something that's a big pet peeve of mine as well as people in the hobby. Like people should just collect what they like, right? So it is what it is. We've got somebody being very racist in the comments, so they can go away. Again, I want to quickly reiterate, right? I'm all for people saying what they want to say in my chat and things like that, because it's not my chat, right? It's our chat, you as the viewers, us as the community. But if you're going to be racist, then I'm going to say goodbye.
Yeah, I've ignored a lot of those.
So, like, and again, I just want to say to people as well, if I'm not saying something in the chat, don't think I'm ignoring it. It's really hard to run a conversation and do both at the same time. So I do apologize for that. Let's see what else there is. Was this a comment for me, Wet Wipes? Because I probably missed it. Going to casually skip over the one about your responsibility as an influencer in the hobby regarding the Fanatics versus Panini case, or you got the bag. What's that meant to mean? I have talked about it. I've done multiple videos on it. Are you trying to say that I'm trying to cover up for someone? Because I have talked about it. So maybe give another comment down below and we can look at it before we drop off.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it if I can.
I couldn't see anything, but again, just
message
it again.
I'm kind of lost on where you're at versus, because I still have them like coming like as they're live, so I might have.
I'm at one. Oh, it's a different time, but mine's 1:20 p.m. is what it says for me. Is the one I'm at now. I don't judge others' taste because I don't think mine. Yeah, exactly, and I think that's the key thing, right? You don't really judge anyone for collecting certain things. When I'm saying I like to approach something a certain way, or I think something is worth more than others, or should be targeted more than others, that's just saying from my perspective. Where I'm not trying to downplay how anyone collects or anything like that. But again, you can send the comment again, Wet Wipes. I don't think I saw it. I pride myself on. I think this is it here actually. I pride myself on reading every comment. So if you leave a comment on my page, you're going to get a reaction from me or a comment at the very least. So if I did miss something, it's not intentional. Are the influencers planning on getting together to moderate the? I think Sports Co Radio actually came out and said that they want to do like a live reporting from the courthouse, which would be pretty cool. I don't know if it does go ahead, but I think it's an interesting one. I'll reiterate again for those that haven't seen my videos, but if you're thinking that Fanatics coming in, Topps coming in, it's going to be the grass is greener, that's not going to be the case. Yes, things might be better, but for the most part, when you see things like this in these industries, it doesn't get better for the consumer. It's going to get the same or worse, which is really disappointing. So, sort of saying like, be careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm. You were speaking about that on Nonsenses.
Yeah, exactly. Like you need to, like people, I spoke about this, Wet Wipes. Maybe you haven't seen my video. I did it maybe 2 weeks ago when the news first broke, but like people are jumping up and down cheering that Fanatics is going to be the savior. But like I said in that video, you had them come out and say they're going to do no more redemptions. They added more redemptions. You had them come out and say they're going to do less parallels. They added more parallels through the likes of the taco refractors. You had the frozen parallels. They had the issues with the backdoor cards. They had issues with releasing baseball product that had missing rookies in there. They didn't communicate that to buyers. You've got all these things that have literally happened since Fanatics took over. And that's the same sort of shit you see Panini do as well. So there's all these things happening that it's not going to get better, I don't think, right? We're in an industry where there's one business doing everything, and typically in those you don't see.
And it's not like we're praising Panini, but it's like this is just a new monopoly. And when there's less options in the market, I'm not a fan of that. I grew up, the '90s was awesome. You had so many options and so many different avenues, and when you have one overlord, that's when it's kind of like, damn, maybe this isn't as good as we thought. So I can understand where you're coming from for sure.
It's one of those things I think we just need, like, I want them to be better, right? I want the hobby to be as successful and as fun to be in as possible. But when you've got like a business coming in and moving how they have and done the things that they have, and they're replacing someone that did the same sort of things, like, do you think it's actually going to be that much better for everyone? Like, yes, there are cool things that they are implementing, but those cool things have to outweigh all the BS they're doing. And just like the thing with the Wemby first card ever, right? They didn't tell people it was a redemption until after the product was released. So people went wild buying this product, trying to chase it, and then didn't get anything, right? It's not going to be better.
Yeah.
Got Sports Card Radio in the room at the moment. Has it gone Ryan or Colin, depending who that is. So yeah, it's just an interesting one. I don't think it's going to get better, right? I think it's just going to be more of the same shit, to be perfectly honest.
I kind of agree.
Well, I hope Sports Card Radio.
The modern stuff doesn't really appease me all that much, so I'm not looking forward. I guess change is good, but it's like when I know I'm kicking a dead horse, but it's like it's just another monopoly. So like change is good, and like you look forward to it. But in a year or 5 years, like how are we really going to feel about this? You know?
Yep. And like. I hope Sports Card Radio can try and cover it, to be honest, because I think I said on the Nonsense podcast as well, or the interview, they have like a really passionate fan base, probably more so, or definitely more so than anyone else in this industry, and more so than what Cardporn had, and they've got 120,000 followers or whatever they did have. Like these guys can get things going, and when they're raising questions and pushing things and covering things, it gets people fired up and gets things going, and actually can put pressure on these businesses, because the shit we're seeing from the likes of some of these auction houses and manufacturers is not good enough. So as Web says, yes, they can do it. Let's see what else there is. And I think this is a big one as well. It's something I again called for. Like, I would love to see them go head to head, but it's never going to happen. It won't ever happen again.
Yeah, I agree. Like, but it's just not how it is. Because I think Wet Wipes was talking about it'd be nice to see the licensing get split up. But I just don't think that's how it works. I agree. I wish it were like that.
But just imagine Topps going head to head with Prism, right?
Yeah, for sure. It would be awesome to see that. And then the market will dictate the collectors. The market will dictate what's the best, what's the most coveted. And I do agree. Like there's certain manufacturers that do certain things better than others. At least that's how it was, in the '90s and the early 2000s. That was like my heyday. I loved it. That was the best time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just one of those things, like imagine the innovation coming off the back of that, or the value for you as a collector. Like they're going to start putting more autos in boxes. They might move away from sticker autos. They might put cooler patches in. They might put cool redemptions in, which I think is a good thing. And I hope we do see it, but we won't. That's a good thing here from patches as well. What were you going to say? Sorry, Steve.
I was just going to say, just to double down, like in the '90s, like just like when I brought up that Flair Showcase Bonds, like in the '90s, you had so many different sets that are known for their inserts. So you had so many different chases from different manufacturers, which made it, you had options. And that's where it's like it's limited now. It's like it's either a gold or, that's pretty much it. How many more, like how many big chases, even in Select, it's a gold. You know what I mean? Like,
I just want to see the more innovation and value coming from it. But like this thing from Patches talking about the Wemby being a giveaway, like they didn't tell anyone it would be a giveaway. The initial people thought you get the redemption, you send it in, you're going to get the chance to get the card. Now they're saying, hang on a minute, we're not going to do that. It's just weird things. Topps' communication has been freaking terrible since all this shit went down with the backdoor cards and all that sort of thing. They've basically ignored, me and many others completely, and they keep changing their position on what it is they want to be doing. The product's released. Oh, hang on a minute, we're not going to give you this card. We're going to do this. And I think their competition is really freaking cool, but that's not the point. You should have told people from the get go. What else is there? I think that's it. Was there anything else you wanted to share, Steve, or people in the comments before we decide to drop off?
I just appreciate you inviting me on, brother. It's always good to chat and talk some of these things out, and I appreciate the chat. It's always good to hear different opinions and insights, and God bless everybody. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Thankful for having you on. I know it was short notice, so I really do appreciate it. And always love hearing your perspective on things, because I think you're always pretty balanced as well and give a good and unique insight. Just to everyone, before we do drop off on, we do a reminder that I am trying to get in touch with Darren Ravel, so if anyone can, pressure him in a nice way to reach out to me, that would be good, because as I did open the video with, some information did come my way that Cardporn either was sponsored by or worked for or with BGS in the past. And now that we've had this, Michael Jordan star card with a fake autograph allegedly being put on there, sold by the owner of Cardporn in a Beckett Raw card review, you've had those cards and items sold on Golden's platform through the Cardporn collection. They were also authenticated by Beckett. That raises a heck of a lot of questions about that relationship, whether or not some hanky-panky occurred there. And I think given the information we're seeing based on Darren Ravel's article and a few others, there's a lot more to come with this. So I think we need to sort of try and get some answers, because it could be a lot bigger than just, this charity with millions of dollars, which sounds pretty crazy, right? Because a charity being scammed out of millions of dollars is a big bloody deal. So I appreciate everyone tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.